Gary, is this place a happier place now you've got that first win?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think it's quite a positive environment anyway with the players. I think that's you can argue that if you're not winning, that's not always a good thing. But I think we're pretty. I mean, the one thing since we've come in, I think the group's been pretty consistent. I think the atmosphere's been pretty consistent. If we've lost games, we've always tried to come in and work out what do we need to do to change that, and work quite hard towards that. We always want to have a little bit of fun and enjoyment as well within the week, as much as we want to work hard on things we need to improve on as well. But of course, winning a game, I think as well on the back of some encouraging performances, I think that's probably the main bit. If it was just one win and you'd lost the last three, then it would feel like a little bit more relief, where this felt a little more like this was coming, and it was a sort of another improvement on Coventry second half, another improvement on Leicester first half, and for large parts of the game, and then to put that into a sort of 3-game run against 3 tough sides, I think obviously makes the win feel, of course, a little bit more important.
I suppose the message inevitably is, can you back it up now?
Yeah, it always is. I think it always is in this division, isn't it? I think this division shows that you can never get too excited when you win, and you've got to make sure that you maintain and you find that same level of hunger. I spoke to them about that before Bristol. That at the start of the game at Leicester, I knew we were on it. I knew our mentality was good. You can argue that maybe Bristol after the game will maybe talk about because they're on a good run. Did they maybe just come off it at the start of the game? That's a natural thing that tends to happen when it's a game maybe you're expected to win. So, but I knew at the start of the Leicester game that our mentality and focus was good. It was the same at Bristol. Again, it's got to be the same at Sheffield United. What you can't do is go into that game thinking we're in good form now. All of a sudden, it's a little bit different. So you have to earn the right in every game, particularly if you're Oxford United. You've got to go out there and do that. So, and we know we'll be up against a team that will be incredibly motivated to get their season kicked off again. Under Chris, obviously knows the players so well. So, yeah, big game. We've got to back up the performance. I'm confident that we'll be in the right space. So, let's wait and see at 3:00.
Obviously, Chris Wilder, well known here and well known to you as well. Would you rather have played Sheffield United a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, I'd probably sound a little bit disrespectful if I said that, but of course, one thing I would expect, and I know they will be under Chris, is they will be a different animal to play against. They'll be, I think in terms of duels, in terms of that competitive side of it, I think they'll be, I don't expect them to be, worried too much about building from the back just for the sake of building from the back. I think there'll be a real purpose to the team. There'll be a real method to how they've always been under Chris. Of course, they show very different quality sides to their game, but slightly different group, and we hope that it takes them a little bit of time to gel and to get those sort of principles back in, but I don't expect it will take very long. So we know what we'll be up against. Like I said, I've come up against Chris on many occasions. I've had good conversations with him, and he'll be definitely desperate to motivate his team to their first victory.
As he might say, bang at it. I would have
Absolutely.
Your team, as you talk about the way that they might play, that your team has had plaudits over the last 2 or 3 weeks for the way it's played, not just the results it's got. Do you think that's just a bias from the quality of the result, or have you seen something that you're enjoying working with in that regard?
Yeah, I think that when we first came in, probably after maybe 15 to 20 games, we had to compromise a little bit, A, because we missed key players, and B, because we needed results at the end of the season. I think that was a conscious effort, not just from the staff, but also from the players. I think the start of the season is very different. Of course, we know we were missing players. We were missing a little bit of the fitness elements that are required. But I like what I've seen in the last 3 games. I think we've showed different sides to us. We're not a side that statistically, particularly, will look like we've had lots of possession, but at the same time, I don't think we're a really, really direct team. Yes, we score from set pieces. yes, we can mix the game up, but I think we're trying to find a nice blend. And anyone who saw, you know, the likes of Brian play at the weekend, you wouldn't say, you know, all he's doing is winning duels and landing on second balls. You know, some lovely bits of football and some really good bits of play, but you know, we want to get into goal scoring areas quickly. We're not bothered about making 30 passes in order to do that. So yeah, I liked a lot of, you know, I thought we had a real cutting edge to us. We've created a lot more chances this season. We've had a lot more shots, which I think is really encouraging. What we need to do is make sure we just need to find that defensive balance as well. Because I think if we were sat here now having scored 9 goals and maybe conceded 6, you know, which would have been our average last season over the games, then, you know, the league would look a very different proposition, you know. So I think that's our aim. You know, we certainly want to maintain that creative side, and sometimes by being more creative and trying to take more risks, of course, you're perhaps not quite as defensively well balanced. But you're looking at both sides of the game. So but I've been pleased so far.
Just a final thought. At least in some positions, you've got a bit of competition for places.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I think we've got a lot of competition for places. You can actually argue at some points we've probably got too much competition for places in certain areas, which makes it tough because, you know, we've left the likes of Tom Bradshaw out, we've left the likes of Sibbs out in recent weeks, and you know, they're 2 lads that you don't really want to leave out of squads because they're great lads. They work incredibly hard in the week. They've both shown, you know, they are really, really good championship players, but you know, I have to make big decisions when we've got quite big numbers. Unfortunately, some players do miss out, but we've also seen it. You know, we're never far away at the moment from a few injuries that allows all of those players to be back in. So they've got to be ready. They've got to make sure they're patient. But yeah, certainly, you know, it's not a nice side of a game to have to leave, you know, really good characters, really good people out of the squad.